Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. In this video I will share with you 5 simple tips that are often overlooked and will undoubtedly improve your Gangplank gameplay if you haven't already been paying attention to these things. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. The very first tip that I got, and which is already a very important one, is barrel management. Very often do I see Gangplank players try too hard to poke their laner with barrels. They just end up throwing away all their barrels and then they have 0 barrels left to actually play the lane with, which ends up in them having to wait for all their barrels to recharge until they can play again, missing lots of minions in the process, or even dying. I always like to make the comparison to Heimerdinger turrets. Heimerdinger without any turrets in his lane is a very vulnerable and not a real champion. Gangplank without his barrels is basically the same. You have no ways of defending yourself without a barrel around you. It is an essential part of your laning, and you should be very thoughtful about each barrel you place. Every barrel should have a purpose. Depending on the situation, this can even mean that sometimes holding on to your barrels for defense is a lot better than trying to use them for offense. Now don't get me wrong, poking is not a bad thing to do, but what I'm trying to say here is you should use your barrels as a controlling tool that allows you to make the necessary decisions in your lane, like walking up and farming minions. It can also be used to allow you to crash or freeze your waves. Using barrels to pressure your laner can be more effective than actually dealing damage to them. By holding a freeze with a single barrel and without blowing up the barrel, your laner is forced to stay and deal with this problem. And even if they get to destroy the barrel, you get to place another one right after, repeating the cycle for as long as possible. Same goes for when you try to crash your wave. Placing a single barrel oftentimes pushes your laner back and allows for an easy wave crash. Poking is only important when trying to crash because some top laners might try to fight you while you are on their side of the lane, or they will try to freeze and you need to prevent them from doing this by chunking their HP and making them not healthy enough to freeze. Outside of laning phase, you want to also avoid using too many barrels while farming. One barrel is usually enough for each wave. If you spam barrels while farming and you end up not paying attention to objective timers, you will show up to the teamfight with not a single barrel in your pocket, and basically not offering anything for your team. As the last point for the subject, don't go for Hail Mary barrel combos in teamfights. If you have some sort of crowd control on your team, let them engage first before you place your barrels. It's better to wait and get guaranteed damage than to spray and pray. Now this may just seem like general advice at first, but let me explain to you why not dying is specifically important on Gangplank. Now see, Gangplank is one of the few unique champions that heavily rely on levels and experience. Not dying means not losing XP. Not losing XP means you are getting your level 13 spike as fast as possible. Once again, very often do I see lower level Gangplank players greeding for minion last hits, resulting in them either getting all in or forced to leave lane. You don't want this to happen. I find it funny because it seems to me like most players tend to forget that GP passively makes gold from his Q. Basically meaning that it's totally okay to miss out on some minions, since you make back that missing gold with your Q passive anyways, and as long as you get the XP, it's totally fine. Value your life and think ahead instead of being too stuck into the moment and eventually greeding for a last hit that was in the end completely not worth it. Another good tip is realizing when you have to hold on to your orange. League of Legends has become a game with a lot of crowd control. Some champions by themselves have more than one way of CCing you. Let's take Sett for example. After level 6, when a Sett runs at you and stuns you with his E, you don't want to orange the stun, because he can follow up with his ult right after. Meanwhile, if you hold your orange and he decides to ult you, you can just walk out of it. Skarner is another good example. Getting pinned by Skarner E will stun you, but you don't want to orange. Try to walk it off, and if he decides to ult you, you can cleanse that and then walk away. The basic thing you want to keep in mind from this is, if you're fighting a champion with more than one CC ability, you never want to instantly use your orange. Hold on to it and only use it if you are in real danger of dying. It speaks for itself that having good map awareness is a core part of what makes a good Gangplank. It's sometimes hard to multitask while you're laning. You don't need to always be clicking on your map to see what your teammates are doing. Sometimes just paying attention to the health bars and the way the icons on the map are moving is enough indication that a fight is happening, and it's time to get ready to assist them with your ult. This way you can always keep your eyes on your own lane. Now last but not least are the barrel timings. I put this last because it obviously speaks for itself that barrel timings are very important. And it doesn't hurt to every once in a while practice your timings again, if you feel like you've been messing up too much. Practice tool is an amazing way of doing this. When doing so, you want to aim for this specific barrel timing. You see when the barrel tick is at 2 and the circle is about to end, you can make the barrel explode at 2 ticks, basically meaning you got the perfect timing. Try to aim for this timing and you should notice your barrel timings getting a lot better. Like always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.